Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome to our deep dive into The Great Gatsby. You're looking to understand the story, the characters, and the whole Jazz Age backdrop, especially how Fitzgerald critiques the American dream. It's a classic for a reason, right?
Absolutely. And what makes it so captivating is how it's all, filtered through Nick Carraway's eyes.
Right.
He's our narrator, a young guy from the Midwest who finds himself right in the middle of this whirlwind, this West Egg society.
Right. He's like our guide through this dazzling and ultimately pretty destructive world. One of the first things that struck me is the contrast between West Egg and East Egg. Fitzgerald really paints a vivid picture.
He does. It's not just about geography, it's symbolic. West
Right.
Egg, where Gatsby throws those legendary parties, represents that new money crowd. Think huge, almost over-the-top mansions. Gatsby's is described as colossal, trying hard to mimic European grandeur. They have money that it's almost like they're trying to prove something.
Right. And then across the bay, you have East Egg, where folks like the Buchanans live. Their house is described as a cheerful red and white Georgian colonial mansion. They've got that old money confidence, an air of, well, entitlement. It's fascinating how Fitzgerald uses these settings to reflect the social hierarchy.
Exactly. East Egg represents the established elite, the ones who inherited their wealth, and have this ingrained sense of superiority. We see this right away with Tom Buchanan, Daisy's husband. Fitzgerald describes him as having a cruel body, which I always thought was such a loaded description.
It's definitely not a flattering picture. It hints at his aggressive nature and the kind of power he wields, both physically and socially.
Yeah, it's a foreshadowing of the brute force he's capable of, and the role it plays in the tragedy that unfolds. Remember you asked about the American dream? Well, Tom embodies the dark side of that ambition. What happens when the pursuit of wealth and power becomes all-consuming?
Now let's talk about the man himself, Jay Gatsby. He throws these incredible parties. Everyone is buzzing about him. But he's a mystery for much of the book. It feels like everyone's got a different theory about him, right?
Yeah. Right, the rumors are wild.
Yeah.
A German spy, a nephew of Kaiser Wilhelm, even a killer. This only adds to the Gatsby mystique, this air of intrigue that surrounds him. Fitzgerald uses these rumors to show how Gatsby's wealth fuels speculation, but also how it allows him to control his own narrative.
He's very careful about what he reveals. When he does finally share his past with Nick, it's a pretty unbelievable story. Midwesterner, Oxford education, inherited a fortune, lost it in the war.
Right. It's almost too perfect.
Yeah.
Nick, and by extension us as readers, are left wondering if any of it's true.
Yeah.
It makes you question Gatsby's authenticity and where all that money really came from. This is where Fitzgerald's genius really shines. He makes us complicit in the mystery.
And then there's that scene in Gatsby's library with the owl-eyed man, remember? He's shocked to discover the books are real.
Ah.
It's like even something as simple as a library becomes part of Gatsby's carefully constructed image.
Yeah, that little detail is so important. It's about illusion versus reality. Gatsby wants people to see him as this sophisticated intellectual man. But how much of it is genuine and how much is a facade? It's a question that lingers throughout the novel.
And the driving force behind it all is this grand ambition to win back Daisy Buchanan, his lost love. It's been 5 years since their romance, and he's built his entire life around getting her back.
What's fascinating is what we learn from Jordan Baker about their past. Daisy was head over heels for Gatsby, but her family didn't approve. She ends up marrying Tom and Gatsby, heartbroken, dedicates himself to becoming the man he thinks she deserves. It's a classic tale of love and loss, but also about social climbing and Gatsby's relentless pursuit of a specific dream.
And that dream is tied to the green light at the end of Daisy's talk. I mean, it's mentioned constantly throughout the novel.
Yeah, that green light is pure symbolism. On the surface, it represents Daisy, but it goes deeper than that. It represents Gatsby's longing for an unattainable past. It's this beacon of hope that's always just out of reach, kind of like Gatsby's vision of the American dream.
It makes you wonder if Gatsby is reaching for something real or just chasing a fantasy. Things take a darker turn, though, right? Especially that sweltering scene in the Plaza Hotel suite. You could cut the tension with a knife.
Yeah, that heat isn't accidental. It mirrors the character's simmering emotions and the unraveling of Gatsby's carefully constructed facade. Everything is about to boil over.
And it does. Gatsby demands that Daisy tell Tom she never loved him. He wants to erase the past, but you can't just rewrite history, can you?
Exactly. It's a pivotal moment that highlights how far Gatsby's willing to go for his dream. He's demanding the impossible to control not just the present, but the past as well. It's this illusion that he can manipulate reality to fit his idealized vision of what should be.
It all comes crashing down, though. That car accident that kills Myrtle Wilson changes everything. And Gatsby, in a truly selfless act, takes the blame to protect Daisy.
That act of sacrifice is heartbreaking, right? Gatsby is willing to face the consequences of a crime he didn't commit, to protect the woman he loves. But it also raises questions about his morality. He's willing to deceive, even break the law, for this dream he's chasing.
It's also tangled up in this idea of the American dream, isn't it? Gatsby's downfall, his relentless pursuit of wealth and status, it all ends in tragedy.
It's one of the central themes of the novel. Fitzgerald is exposing the hollowness of that dream. The idea that material success equals happiness is a corrupting force. He shows how the pursuit of wealth can lead to moral decay.
And those cars that are constantly zipping around, they're not just transportation, are they?
Absolutely not. They're symbols of freedom and wealth, but also recklessness and destruction, especially in the context of the Roaring Twenties, a time of rapid social change and technological advancement. Those cars represent the era's exhilaration and its inherent dangers.
It's also dazzling and tragic at the same time. I feel like we've only scratched the surface here. What are your initial thoughts on Gatsby and his story so far?
It's a classic tragedy, really. Gatsby believed that accumulating wealth and reaching a certain social status would allow him to recapture the past and win Daisy back. But Fitzgerald brilliantly shows us that the past is immutable, and chasing material wealth can lead to disillusionment and, well, disaster.
It's like he's trying to buy his way back into a time that's gone. And it's not just Gatsby, right? The other characters like Tom and Daisy, they have it all. Wealth, status. But are they happy? I don't think so.
Not at all. They are surrounded by luxury, but are deeply unhappy and, frankly, morally bankrupt. They live in a bubble of privilege, completely detached from the consequences of their actions. Remember how Nick describes them careless people who smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness?
That's such a powerful quote. It highlights the moral emptiness at the heart of this world Fitzgerald is depicting.
And he contrasts that world with the Valley of Ashes, that desolate industrial wasteland between West Egg and New York City. It's a stark reminder of the less glamorous side of the Roaring Twenties, the people left behind in the pursuit of the American dream.
The Valley of Ashes is almost like a character itself looming over everything. It represents the forgotten underclass, the victims of this relentless pursuit of wealth and status.
Exactly. It's a metaphor for the moral and spiritual emptiness that can result from that single-minded chase. Think of George Wilson Myrtle's husband, covered in the dust of that wasteland. He represents those who suffer because of the wealthy elite's indifference.
Fitzgerald is a master of symbolism. We've talked about the green light, the oppressive heat in that hotel room, the cars, and then there are Gatsby's extravagant parties. On the surface, they seem glamorous, but I think they say a lot about the emptiness and superficiality of the Roaring Twenties.
Those parties are a perfect example of Fitzgerald's social commentary. They're full of excess flowing champagne, endless dancing. But beneath the surface, there's a sense of desperation. The guests are there for the spectacle to be seen, to forget their problems. Most of them don't even know Gatsby.
It's all about keeping up appearances, trying to fit in with this crowd that values wealth and status. Above all else, remember how shocked that owl-eyed man was to find real books in Gatsby's library? It's like he's built his entire life around creating this facade.
And that facade, as carefully constructed as it is, can only last for so long. It crumbles when Gatsby's true past is revealed and the consequences of his actions catch up to him.
It's like that saying, you can't run from your past. Gatsby's death is both tragic and, in a way, inevitable. He's a victim of his own illusions. His belief that money and social status can buy happiness and even rewrite the past.
Absolutely. And Nick, our narrator, is left disillusioned by it all. He came to West Egg seeking adventure, maybe even a piece of the American dream for himself, but he witnesses firsthand the dark side of that dream.
He sees the moral decay, the emptiness and the shallowness that lie beneath the surface. It's like he's lost his innocence, his faith, and the promise of the American dream.
And in the end, he returns to the Midwest, maybe seeking a simpler, more authentic way of life, a place less caught up in the pursuit of wealth and status.
So what does it all mean for us today? The Great Gatsby was written almost a century ago, but it still feels relevant.
It does, doesn't it? The themes of ambition, love, class, and the allure of success, these are timeless. It's a story that continues to resonate with readers because it speaks to some fundamental truths about human nature.
It makes you think about the things we value, the dreams we chase, and the price we're willing to pay for them. What are some of the things that stand out to you the most about Gatsby's story?
For me, it's the way Fitzgerald captures the allure and the danger of the American dream. Gatsby's story is both a cautionary tale and a testament to the human capacity for hope and self-invention. It reminds us that even in the midst of tragedy, there's beauty and meaning to be found.
And Fitzgerald's writing is just so beautiful, so evocative, the way he uses language to create the atmosphere of the jazz age, those sensory details, the lyrical descriptions. It's truly a masterpiece of American literature.
It is. Fitzgerald's prose is both poetic and precise. He manages to capture the exuberance and anxieties of the Roaring Twenties. With remarkable clarity, he doesn't shy away from the dark side of that era.
It's definitely a book that deserves to be read more than once. You discover new layers of meaning every time you revisit it.
And it's a novel that continues to spark discussion and debate. What are your thoughts, listener? Do you see Gatsby as a tragic hero or more of a fool? Was he corrupted by his pursuit of the American dream, or was he simply trying to find his place in a world that didn't understand him?
Those are questions that really get to the heart of the novel. One thing that always strikes me is Gatsby's unwavering belief in his dream, even when it's falling apart all around him.
Right. It's both admirable and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He clung to this idealized version of Daisy and their future, refusing to see her as she truly was.
Right.
He built his entire life around this fantasy, and when it crumbled, he was left with nothing.
It makes you think about the nature of dreams in general, you know? How tightly should we hold on to them? At what point do they become more destructive than inspiring?
It's a tricky balance, for sure. Dreams can be powerful motivators, but they can also blind us to reality. I think Fitzgerald is suggesting that it's important to have dreams, but to be flexible too, to be willing to adapt when life throws you a curveball.
And to recognize that sometimes the past is best left in the past. Gatsby's obsession with recreating what he had with Daisy ultimately destroyed him.
Exactly. He was so focused on a single moment in time that he failed to see the beauty and possibilities of the present. He couldn't move forward because he was too busy trying to recapture something that was gone forever.
It's a powerful message, and one that feels incredibly relevant even today. Our culture often glorifies ambition and material success. But The Great Gatsby serves as a cautionary tale, showing the emptiness that can come with achieving those things.
It reminds us that true fulfillment often comes from genuine human connection, from finding meaning and purpose beyond just acquiring wealth and status, things that Gatsby, for all his riches, never quite managed to find.
And it's a testament to the power of great literature, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
The Great Gatsby challenges our assumptions, prompts us to think critically about the world around us, and offers no easy answers.
Absolutely. It's a timeless masterpiece that continues to spark conversation and debate nearly a century after it was written. It stays with you long after you finish reading it, prompting reflection on the complexities of the human experience. It's a book that truly deserves a place on everyone's bookshelf.
So if you're looking for a novel that will transport you to another time and place, make you think deeply about the American dream, and leave you pondering questions about love, loss, and the pursuit of happiness, then The Great Gatsby is definitely worth a read.
And perhaps more importantly, it invites us to examine our own dreams and aspirations. Are we chasing after illusions, or are we pursuing something real and meaningful? That's the question Fitzgerald leaves us with. And it's one that continues to resonate with each generation of readers.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into The Great Gatsby. I hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Bookercast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.